Welcome to this special edition of Deep Pockets podcast. Unlike our usual episodes where I interview a person in the intersection of emerging technologies in the government, this one is recorded at the Quantum World Congress and adjacent events in September 2024. My name is Petra Söderling. Our theme song is by New Orleans jazz icon Leroy Jones and audio editing by Chris Elliott. Since 2022, the world's quantum ecosystem has gathered to bring a quantum-ready future into focus. Quantum World Congress is the world's premier gathering for quantum technology leaders, innovators, and visionaries. The 2024 event took place in Greater Washington, uniting global experts from industry, government, and academia to explore the latest breakthroughs and trends. I attended the full event, including a precursor on Sunday that was organized by the Embassy of Finland in Washington, D.C., together with Johns Hopkins Science Policy and Diplomacy Group, as well as the International Forum on Monday, with a microphone in hand. These following interviews are recorded in demanding live situations. Despite of Chris's magic, please excuse any roughness there might be in the audio quality. First, let's start our world tour from North America. We'll hear a bit of introduction by André König of GQI. He's a veteran in the quantum market and business intelligence space. He is followed by Team USA with experts and visionaries who are looking at quantum from the State Department, universities, as former IBMers. There's Colorado, and a really great interview on what NASA is doing with quantum. Then we'll jump across the border to Canada, followed by Australia. Our European section includes representatives from the governments of Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. Our world tour ends back in Washington, D.C., with closing remarks from America's Quantum Industry Consortium, QEDC, and then, of course, George Thomas, the president of Connected DMV, who is the organizer of Quantum World Congress. He will have the final word. Happy travels! This time I'm here with André König from GQI, Global Quantum Intelligence. And this is, André, the third time you're at the Quantum World Congress. How is it going for you?
Very well. It's a lot of quantum, and we love that. It started out at a left field entry on the conference circuit 3 years ago, the library in downtown DC. And it's now probably the second largest conference in quantum, and of course it's the most global, like Global Quantum Intelligence, my company. And the Quantum World Congress attracts more global attendees than anyone else. And being where it is, surrounded by many government, federal, defense agencies, it makes for very unique and intriguing questions that go beyond the qubit performance and the latest fundraise, which is the big value of the QWC.
This is Lincoln Carr. We met a few years ago when I was working with the Finland-Colorado MOU, and you were somehow involved in that. Can you refresh my memory? What was your role during that time, and what it is that you do now?
Sure. I've been a quantum researcher for about 25 years. I think I didn't imagine that in the middle of my career, quantum computers would become a reality or a soon-to-be reality. It's a very exciting moment. As far as what I did with the Finland-Colorado MOU, this was a precursor to the U.S.-Finland MOU. And at that time, I was a Jefferson Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine with the U.S. Department of State. And State wanted to support this lead-up by sending me out to Colorado to be the U.S. government representative. So it's one of the few times in my life when I sat in a panel as the representative of the U.S. government. I was delighted to do that in my home state and meet lots of great colleagues in Finland. I must say I've been to Finland a couple of times, and it's truly one of my favorite countries on earth. I personally plan to build a Finnish sound. So.
That's terrific. Thanks. So what about now? What are you doing now?
I do a lot of things. I'm a broad researcher. I consider myself a complexity scientist. One of the exciting questions for me about quantum information systems is the possibility of answering what are the origins of the complexity that we see around us. Right now, physics does not predict life, the universe, everything. It does not predict the complexity side of things. It doesn't really predict things of higher scale. Now, you might say, why would we use quarks to predict geology? Or why would we use, electrons to predict consciousness? But actually, this concept of complex systems developing emergent phenomena at different scales has been thought to be classical or biological, but not quantum. So my interest has been in showing that whatever complexity is out there, whatever the origin theory of complexity, including living systems, thought, human systems, it must actually include quantum mechanics at a fundamental level.
Okay, we're here at the Quantum World Congress. How's it going for you so far?
Great. I'm very impressed. In the space of error correction, in the space of possible ways to have feedback between a quantum system and its environment, which after all is what nature is doing. Nature is not working in isolation. Nature is always working with an environment. In that space, there are many new advances here, and that is leading to new kinds of logical qubits. We will see how much the promises come to fruition by 2029, which is what every company is saying. I think DARPA is more like 2033, but I still think it is really going along now. It used to be about quantum computing, maybe no. And then it was, well, maybe yes. And now it's just, when is it going to happen? Yeah. So that's an exciting transition.
Cool. Thank you. This is Corban Tilleman-Dick. Tell us, what is Elevate Quantum?
Elevate Quantum is a consortium of over 150 organizations dedicated to securing the Mountain West as a global leader in quantum. We were founded in April 2023 as a result of the TechUp program put out by the Department of Commerce, as we were selected as the only quantum tech hub to receive federal funding. So we now have $130 million to chase that goal and to hopefully help build a global quantum ecosystem that has the impact that we all look for from the conference.
That is terrific. How is the Quantum World Congress?
It's been extremely effective, both from an Elevate Quantum perspective and from my own company, Maybell Quantum. So I chair the board of Elevate Quantum, but also have a quantum infrastructure company that builds cryogenic systems and wiring and other things like that. And the number of world leaders from government organizations trying to build the quantum industry, from companies trying to build the quantum industry, who are here, engaging with each other, solving problems, putting together consortiums, trying to, put together the pieces of this, messy, nascent industry is outstanding. The sessions are one thing, but the hallway conversations, the meetings inside, that's where I've seen the most value.
Here we go. This is Dr. Bob Suter at Quantum World Congress. So how did the session go yesterday?
Well, first of all, Petra, thank you for joining us here in Washington at Quantum World Congress. We had a session, a workshop on, to paraphrase, why quantum computing needs an Apollo space program. And not that I really think people should go back and do exactly what people did in the 1960s. But look, this was considered a very hard problem. To this day, we still talk about moonshots. So the workshop was really composed of 3 parts. One was a review of what really happened with Apollo. Now, I must admit, I love space. A lot of people love space, rockets, and things like this. There are a lot of lessons you can learn about the different phases. We didn't just build a rocket and go to the moon. First, we looked around, we tried lots of alternatives, and we buckled down in the Gemini program, did the must-do things. We didn't know how to walk in space. We didn't know how to dock things. It's new science, it's new engineering that need to be developed. And eventually, we got to the moon and actually came back. Although one of the missions was Apollo 13 was a little questionable. Almost didn't. Then we were joined by someone from NASA who brought it all forward to talk about how NASA manages very large programs today, such as the James Webb Space Telescope. right? And it was delayed, but it's brilliant. Everyone's seen these pitches, right? And I asked him right toward the end, well, how many companies were involved with this? So it seems like something smaller than Apollo. And I believe his answer was 8,000. So you look out at all these little quantum companies, and really my message to them is you're not going to do it alone, and you're not going to do it without some top-level coordination. Second section was really much more technical. And this we had 4 people who are either CEOs or former CEOs of startups in the quantum area. So these are true believers. These are people who put their lives on hold, invested their own finances in the sense of what they're trying to do. And we asked them some very hard questions. What will really be necessary? I know you love your technology, but come on. What else has to come together? Right toward the end of that, I said, imagine, there's a big brick wall out there that the quantum industry is going to hit. You think about it. These are your nightmares when you're trying to, fall asleep at night, these things you think about. And they gave us some ideas, right? And solutions, because that's where the startups will really shine, with the solutions. Finally, we put a great big picture over everything to say, but how are we actually going to do this? Do we need industrial policy? Do we need something like the Apollo program? These national or regional programs, EU, UK, whatever. By the way, talent has to flow across borders. Which borders? All these types of things. So I think we wrapped it up and gave people at least a strong analog for how quantum needs to develop into an honest-to-goodness program that isn't a series of disconnected science projects and actually produces something with practical quantum advantage.
Thank you, Dr. Suter. All right, the afternoon continues. I'm with Omid Nurusia from NASA. A lot of our listeners are probably very curious to understand what NASA is doing with quantum technologies.
Yes. NASA is a very large organization, and it's been actually developing quantum technologies for decades now. Many might not be aware because some of those technologies were not labeled as being quantum technologies. For example, single photon detectors are an area of need for NASA astrophysics missions because of the sensitivity required for these astrophysical instruments. But yeah, it's an area that's becoming more essential for NASA's future. Obviously, in terms of sensing and measurement, NASA would like to improve the sensitivity of its instruments for science observations in astrophysics, earth science, heliophysics, and biological and physical sciences, which are the 4 science disciplines in NASA. There is the typical classification of quantum technologies into quantum sensing, quantum networking or communication, and then quantum computing. And I would say that quantum computing is an area where NASA has been less active in, but more so recently, especially as the capabilities of quantum computers is increasing, and it's become now much more apparent after this Quantum World Congress meeting in Washington, D.C., that there are potentially applications for using quantum computers for NASA. Things such as climate modeling and computational fluid dynamics are 2 areas of high interest for NASA. And then in terms of sensing, like I said, single photon detectors have always been an area of need for NASA. But now we also have other missions, other needs, such as gravity measurements. There's a mission called the Quantum Gravity Gradiometer Pathfinder mission, which aims to monitor with higher precision the changes in gravity around our planet, and do hydrology measurements with high precision And there's also a need for atomic clocks for NASA. Deep space missions require autonomous navigation, and we need better and more capable clocks in space. So these are some of the areas that I would say NASA is interested in, working with academia, industry, and other government agencies.
That's great. Thank you, Omid. What about the Quantum World Congress? We've been here for 3 days. How do you find the Congress?
Yeah, so it's been a fascinating event. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been, in fact, too much for me to absorb. There's so many interesting talks and panels happening, and I think it's become more apparent to me that quantum, in particular quantum computing, is really going to have an impact in the future, and we're getting closer to potentially useful quantum computers, in this decade. So yeah, I've loved the events. I love the mix of government representation, industries, and academia all in the same place, and in the context of Washington D.C., which is the policy environment. So important. Things like the National Quantum Initiative are crucial for the future of this field, and so we have had representation from all these domains in this event, which has been fantastic.
I'm now with Rajat Ghosh, National Quantum Strategy Secretariat, Government of Canada. Rajat, tell us what Canada is doing in quantum. What is your national quantum strategy?
So our national quantum strategy is to support 3 different missions across quantum technologies to create an industrial, vibrant quantum ecosystem: quantum sensing, quantum communications and cryptography, as well as quantum computing and quantum algorithms. To do this, we're supporting the entire, we're giving support across the entire innovation continuum, from basic research through to commercialization, procurement, and adoption. We involve a number of different departments and programs, I think over 14 at this point, including our portfolio partners from our basic research programs such as NSERC, National Research Council, and we have other parallel strategies in our Department of Defense to support researchers, academics, as well as other providers.
Okay, this is the Quantum Congress 2024. How is this experience?
I think it's been very interesting. There have been a number of different esteemed panelists that are speaking and touching very different facets of quantum technologies. In general, quantum technologies usually discussed at a very technical level. Most discussion centers around basic research. However, this conference there seems to be a unique opportunity to look at the intersection of policy, government, industrial efforts, as well as the basic science. So I think in that sense, there's a unique value in it.
I'm here with Aravind Ratnam from Q Control. We are at Quantum World Congress. Please introduce yourself and your company, and how are you finding the Quantum World Congress 2024?
My name is Aravind Ratnam. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Q Control, a leading quantum software company. We're based in Sydney, and we have approximately 140 employees across Sydney, Los Angeles, Berlin, and Augsburg. We are well known in our area for one thing that we do, which is quantum control, specifically error suppression. We improve the performance of quantum computers. We also have a world-leading program in quantum sensing, and we are developing and delivering strategic capability to the US and its allies, and we are already supplying to the Australian Navy. In addition, we also have a world-class quantum education initiative, and with over 20,000 users, including the government of the UK and the US. This show, the Quantum World Congress in Washington, D.C. is fairly unique for its audience. It's a good mix of government, decision makers, private companies, startups, and even educational institutions and everything in between. And this is where you see the intersection of policy and how policy galvanizes innovation, and it makes that vital connection between innovation that's happening at the small companies, large companies, and how government is able to influence direction and even covers areas of national security, because quantum is a critical technology. So this conference is quite different than others, and it draws a good audience. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm here with Dr. Andreas Masur. He is the head of Quantum Initiative from the Swiss Academy of Sciences. We are here at the Quantum World Congress, and I wanted to ask you about the Swiss approach to quantum. Do you have a national quantum strategy? What's in it? How did it become reality? And so forth.
Thank you very much, Petra. We do have a national initiative quite recently compared to most of the other countries around here, since 2 years. On a federal level, of course, decades of research. And as part of that, yes, we have strategic recommendations. We take the word strategy on a national level quite careful traditionally in Switzerland. It's a very federal and decentralized country. But yes, we have that, and also formulating about a 100 million investment strategy for the next 4 years.
How has the Congress gone for you so far?
Very interesting. We had a few technical meetings here with colleagues around, but mostly feeling and hands-on seeing the political engagement. 5-6 embassy meetings this week, the industry politics around the world, and the motion of the like-minded countries. That is very valuable in person to experience and to contribute to that here in Washington.
Okay, I am here with Thomas Andersson. He is the Senior Research Officer at Swedish Research Council. Welcome to Deep Pockets. I have a question about the Swedish national strategy. What can you tell us about Sweden?
Well, we have prepared for this, you can say, because the community and the different people and companies being interested in this together with the authorities made a quantum agenda in 1922. And now we've got a mission from the government at the Swedish Research Council to prepare for a proposal for an agenda. And that should be delivered by the 7th of October.
Okay, very soon. So even though you don't have this strategy yet, I do have a question on what do you think that your strategy will focus on mostly? Do you think it's more about industry and business growth as number one, or number two, ensuring leadership in science, or perhaps as a third option, to protect your public and private securities?
And then I guess my answer would be all of them, because I think, but this is personal. I think it's too early to make a choice. And we are still discussing internally, so I don't know. I'm not the one deciding, but it's probably too early to make a choice. But all of these are very important.
Excellent answer. Thank you, Thomas. I'm here with Lina Orderskjöld from Novo Nordisk Foundation. We're here at the Women in Quantum luncheon. I'm going to ask Lina about the Danish strategy and ecosystem. So, Lina, tell us how Denmark is approaching quantum strategy and what you're doing over there.
So, first, the Danish government made a mapping of the status of quantum in Denmark. Based on this, a national strategy was formulated, a strategy which promotes both research, talent development, innovation, commercialization, and also security of these sensitive technologies. So in the strategy, actually the strategy is followed by allocations on the fiscal law, which is important. It's not just empty words, it's actually followed by real money. Also from the Novo Nordisk Foundation, where I serve as Senior Vice President, we of course invest heavily into the Danish ecosystem. So The activities which are being promoted are, of course, fundamental research in terms of, say, open competition, research centers, but also innovation and translation, formation of incubators, which will form viable quantum companies, but also uptake in large enterprise, because we need the large enterprise to adopt the quantum technologies as they serve for the development of the quantum technologies. Also, being from a small country, Denmark, it's quite clear we cannot do everything. We will need, and this is very natural for us, we actually appreciate the global collaboration. So we find our share where we can contribute, and then we collaborate closely with trusted partners. So overall, over a 5-year period, the foundation and the government has invested on the order of 1 billion euros into quantum. So per capita, that makes us one of the most investing regions, I would say. Yes. So we are quite ambitious within quantum, and I think one of our strongholds is our ability to work across several stakeholders in public-private partnerships. So I think this may be an advantage of a small and agile concept.
That's great. Thank you. This time I'm here with Jarmo Sareva. He's the Consul General of Finland in New York, and we've just come out from the Quantum World Congress's International Forum, where we spent 3 hours with our fellow governments from around the world. So I want to ask Mr. Ambassador, what are your feelings now after 3 hours?
It was a very interesting discussion, showing that while there's still a lot of creative destruction ahead of us, and that will take many, many years. There is an expectation that one day the investment scene will be ready for a takeoff for quantum industries. I was actually looking at this year's program of Slush during the meeting, and while AI is bound to be yet another central theme at this year's Slush, I did not see much anything about quantum quite yet, and I think that's natural. But there will be a day when there's going to be the same kind of froth around quantum as we have seen around AI. And then we need to make sure that the companies and the technologies that will be emerging as winners, that they are in Finland and that their ownership is in Finland, because we, as a country, we need to grow wealthy.
I'm here with Petri Koikkalainen. He's the Science Counselor of Finnish Embassy in Washington, D.C. And we've just walked out from the International Forum here at the Quantum World Congress. So I want to ask Petri, what are the feelings now?
Well, yes, of course we talked quite a lot about the technological advancement in quantum and the possibilities for researchers and companies, but what strikes me the most with the government officials is the willingness for collaboration, bilateral, multilateral, not only governments like Finland and the United States, but what's striking me is the regional operators, states here in America, also like sub-state, county-level engagement. So I think we are seeing a much more like multifaceted world of collaboration than in traditional diplomacy in many cases, and that's something fascinating.
Next one here I have Fikri Selen Okatan, who is the mastermind from Business Finland behind the Global Quantum Strategies Overview event here at Johns Hopkins. We've just finished the whole agenda. How do you feel now?
I feel wonderful because we had a fantastic event, and it's a very happy event also. And 7-minute flash talks are so interesting. You can take in so much information, but it's also very upbeat, and we have people from all over the world coming here together. And
it's a love fest, as you said.
It's a love fest of sorts, an annual one. That's what it has become. So I'm really really happy about the turnout and the interesting speakers we could bring together, and we sprinkled all of our Finnish superstars into, the lineup, which was fantastic for Finland, Quantum from Finland, and that's all we had in mind with this.
Exactly, and now we can go and enjoy some of the Finnish delicacies that you have arranged us. Thank you so much, Figrid.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
I'm here with Silja Merzbacher, the head of QEDC, with Quantum World Congress 2024. How has the Congress been for you, Silja?
Thank you, Petra. It's great to be here, and it's wonderful to see everyone. When I think back of what's happened just in the last year, it's very exciting to see the system developers making progress on their roadmaps, to see the community that's developing and growing, to see the researchers partnering with the developers, and the full stack from the software teams all the way down to the suppliers of the critical components, all making rapid progress. So I'm really pleased to see that this year, and I look forward to being here again next year. Thank you so much.
I'm with George Thomas. He is the president of Connected DNV. What are you feeling? Your feelings now?
Thank you. It's day 3 of the 3rd Quantum World Congress, and it's been 27 months since we opened the first Quantum World Congress, and it's been a tremendous kind of an humbling experience to see the ecosystem not just accept but congregate and make deals, move the mission forward, talk about everything from policy and ethics to commercialization to export controls to brand new announcements made on stage. Boeing did the announcement of the Quantum Q4S, the Quantum satellite, launched in 2026. There were 26 startups that pitched in a row. It's been incredible. One thing from a feeling perspective, wide perspective that I've noticed on the floor is there seems to be a sense of optimism in the talks from the stage and all of the discussions on the floor, far more so than the first year. First year there was a little sense of hesitancy that I had always picked up, and this year it's a sense of optimism. Now, I don't know whether I'm seeing it with the glass half full, but I really do feel that there seems to be a sense of momentum for the industry, and it's up to us to kind of continue to show results as a collective, as an international group, so that the funding flows, the policy falls into the right place, etc. But I'm very hopeful, and I'm very humbled that people are choosing to come here, and I'm very hopeful and positively looking forward to progress in the quantum industry.
You've listened to Deep Pockets with Petra Söderling. Subscribe in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, TuneIn and Alexa, iHeartRadio or any other podcast platform. The beautiful music you heard is by Leroy Jones, an iconic New Orleans Jazz Hall of Fame trumpetist. You can find this and other Leroy Jones tunes at your favorite online or offline music store. For more stories and discoveries about the symbiotic relationship between emerging technologies and governments, please go to petrasoderling.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and share our episodes. It means a lot to me and to my guests. Thank you.